ExamPrep.School. Arizona Insurance Claims Adjuster Property and Casualty Exam. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Adjustment process, commercial automobile policy, commercial general liability, commercial property policies, dwelling policy concepts, federal laws and regulations, general insurance concepts, homeowners policy concepts, insurance regulation, other types of insurance policies, personal automobile policy, property and casualty insurance basics. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. To qualify for an Arizona resident property and casualty adjuster license, an applicant must meet all of the following except A. Be at least 18 years old and a resident of Arizona. B. Complete at least 90 hours of department-approved pre-licensing education. C. Submit a fingerprint-based background check through a department-approved vendor. D. Hold a bachelor's degree in insurance risk management. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is D. This option is not an eligibility requirement for a resident Arizona property and casualty adjuster license. All other choices represent mandatory prerequisites under state law. Reason A is not correct. Minimum age and state residency are statutory requirements for licensure. Reason B is not correct. Completion of 90 hours of approved pre-licensing education is mandated before sitting for the exam. Reason C is not correct. A fingerprint-based background check through an approved vendor is required for a resident license. Question 2. Under Arizona law, a non-resident property and casualty adjuster seeking licensure by reciprocity must include which document with the application? A. A letter from the non-resident adjuster's current employer. B. Evidence of errors and omissions insurance coverage. C. Proof of continuous residency in the home state for at least 2 years. D. A certificate of good standing from the home state insurance department. The correct answer is D. A certificate of good standing, or licensure from the home state, is required to verify existing licensure for reciprocity. Other documents listed are not mandated under Arizona's reciprocity provisions. Reason A is not correct. Employer letters are not required for non-resident license reciprocity. Reason B is not correct. Errors and omissions insurance proof is not a prerequisite for initial non-resident reciprocity application. Reason C is not correct. Arizona law does not mandate proof of multi-year home state residency for reciprocity. Question 3. Which of the following best distinguishes a resident staff adjuster from an independent adjuster in Arizona? A. Independent adjusters must contract exclusively with a single insurer. B. Staff adjusters are salaried employees of an insurer. C. Staff adjusters require 150 hours of pre-licensing education. D. Independent adjusters cannot handle personal lines claims. The correct answer is B. Staff adjusters are employed directly by an insurer and receive a salary. Independent adjusters work under contract and are not paid on an employee basis. Reason A is not correct. Independent adjusters may contract with multiple insurers rather than a single carrier. Reason C is not correct. Pre-licensing education requirements are the same for both staff and independent adjusters, not 150 hours specifically for staff. Reason D is not correct. Independent adjusters are permitted to handle personal lines claims under their contractual agreements. Question 4. Jordan is applying for a portable electronics adjuster license in Arizona. Jordan is 22 years old, has completed the required 20 hours of department-approved training on portable electronics claims, passed the state licensing examination, and submitted fingerprints for the required background check. Which action must Jordan take to satisfy the remaining licensing qualification requirement? A. File a $5,000 surety bond with the director. B. Obtain a $100,000 errors and omissions policy. C. Complete 20 hours of approved continuing education. D. Apply to renew the license before it expires. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is filing a $5,000 surety bond, which is the final prerequisite before issuing a portable electronics adjuster license. Errors and omissions coverage is not required for initial licensure. Continuing education obligations commence post-licensure. Renewal applies only after the license has been issued. Reason B is not correct. Errors and omissions coverage is not a statutory prerequisite for initial portable electronics adjuster licensure in Arizona. Reason C is not correct. Continuing education requirements apply after the license has been issued, not before initial qualification. Reason D is not correct. License renewal pertains to maintaining an existing license, not obtaining the initial license. Question 5. Under Arizona law, which renewal period and fee apply to a resident insurance adjuster's license? A. Biennially by the last day of the licensee's birth month and $91. B. Annually by December 31st and $30. C. Biennially by December 31st and $120. D. Triennially by the licensee's birth month and $85. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is biennial renewal by the last day of the licensee's birth month with a $91 statutory fee, as required by Arizona revised statutes. Reason B is not correct. Incorrect because resident adjuster licenses renew every 2 years by birth month end and incur a higher fee than $30. Reason C is not correct. Incorrect because renewal deadlines follow the licensee's birth month, not the calendar year end, and the fee is statutory $91. Reason D is not correct. Incorrect because renewal occurs every 2 years rather than 3, and the fee is not $85. Question 6. Under Arizona law, to place a resident adjuster license on inactive status due to active military service, a licensee must submit written notice and official military orders within how many days of commencing active duty? A. 30 days. B. 90 days. C. 60 days. D. 120 days. The correct answer is C. Arizona allows resident adjusters on active military service to convert their license to inactive status by submitting notice and orders within 60 days of activation. Reason A is not correct. Incorrect because the statute allows up to 60 days after activation, not only 30 days. Reason B is not correct. Incorrect because 90 days exceeds the maximum period specified for requesting inactive status. Reason D is not correct. Incorrect because the regulatory timeframe is 60 days, not 120 days. Question 7. How many continuing education credit hours must an Arizona adjuster complete in each renewal cycle, including the minimum ethics instruction requirement? A. 24 credits total, including 3 ethics credits. B. 20 credits total, including 3 ethics credits. C. 24 credits total, including 5 ethics credits. D. 30 credits total, including 2 ethics credits. The correct answer is A. Regulations require 24 hours of continuing education every 2 years for adjusters, including at least 3 hours of approved ethics coursework. Reason B is not correct. Incorrect because the total requirement is 24 credits, not 20. Reason C is not correct. Incorrect because the ethics requirement is 3 credits, not 5 within the 24 credit total. Reason D is not correct. Incorrect because the total and ethics credit requirements differ from regulatory mandates. Question 8. Under Arizona Administrative Code R20, 6801 regarding unfair claim settlement practices. Within how many working days must an insurer acknowledge receipt of a written claim or notify the claimant of the acceptance, denial, or need for additional information? A. 5 working days. B. 15 working days. C. 30 working days. D. 45 working days. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is 15 working days because R26801B 1 mandates that insurers must acknowledge or respond to written claims within that time frame. Reason A is not correct. The rule allows a longer period. 5 working days is shorter than the regulatory requirement. Reason C is not correct. 30 working days refers to later deadlines for claim payment, not initial acknowledgement. Reason D is not correct. 45 working days exceeds the maximum acknowledgement period specified in the rule. Question 9. An adjuster at Canyon State Insurance receives notice of a homeowner's property claim on Monday, March 1st. Under Arizona Claim Settlement Standards, by what date must the insurer send acknowledgement to comply with required timeframes for acknowledging a claim notice? A. By Monday, March 15th. B. By Sunday, March 30th. C. By Friday, March 19th. D. By Monday, April 1st. The correct answer is C. This option is correct because Arizona statutes require acknowledgement of a claim notice within 15 business days. Counting only weekdays from March 1st yields March 19th. Reason A is not correct. This response uses calendar days or counts only 2 work weeks instead of the full 15 business days required. Reason B is not correct. This date reflects counting calendar days rather than the mandated 15 business day period. Reason D is not correct. This allows a full month for acknowledgement, exceeding the state's 15 business day deadline. Question 10. Which of the following is not an element required to establish a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1033, subsection Unauthorized Insurance Transactions? A. Knowledge that the individual is not duly licensed to engage in the business of insurance in a particular state. B. Conducting the business of insurance by means of the mail or any facility of interstate commerce. C. Offering insurance covering persons or property transported or received in interstate commerce. D. Specific intent to defraud insureds or insurers in premium collection or claim payment. The correct answer is D. The statute requires knowledge of lack of licensure, conducting insurance business via interstate commerce, and coverage of interstate persons or property, but does not mandate proof of fraudulent intent. Reason A is not correct. Knowledge of lacking licensure is explicitly required by the statute and is not a distractor. Reason B is not correct. Use of the mail or other facility of interstate commerce is an element expressly set out in the statutory language. Reason C is not correct. The coverage of interstate persons or property is part of the statutory jurisdictional requirement. Question 11. While investigating a homeowner's insurance claim, an adjuster learns the insured shipped valuable antique furniture out of state after overstating its worth and staging a burglary. Under federal insurance fraud statutes and 18 U.S.C. 1033, which factor most strongly establishes federal jurisdiction over this alleged fraud? A. The insured listed the antiques on a national auction site without arranging out-of-state shipping. B. The adjuster discovered the antique furniture had been shipped to another state before the alleged burglary. C. A local appraiser provided a valuation report before the antiques were moved within the same city. D. The policyholder filed the claim through the insurer's national call center, which handles interstate claims. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because shipping property across state lines constitutes use of interstate commerce, satisfying the federal jurisdiction requirement under 18 U.S.C. 1033. Reason A is not correct. Merely listing items online without actual interstate shipping does not demonstrate use of interstate commerce for jurisdiction under 18 U.S.C. 1033. Reason C is not correct. A local appraisal and movement within the same city do not involve interstate commerce needed for federal jurisdiction. Reason D is not correct. Filing through a national call center alone does not necessarily prove use of interstate commerce in the fraudulent activity. Question 12. Which of the following best defines non-public personal financial information under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act? A. Any information that a consumer provides in connection with a financial transaction that is not available from publicly accessible sources. B. Information regarding a consumer's financial history, products, or services provided by a financial institution that is not publicly available. C. Aggregated data about customers compiled by a financial institution for marketing purposes without individual identifiers. D. Data that a financial institution collects or derives about a consumer's creditworthiness that has been publicly disclosed. The correct answer is B. This option accurately captures that non-public personal financial information includes personally identifiable financial details about a consumer obtained by a financial institution that are not publicly revealed. Reason A is not correct. This choice only covers information provided by the consumer, omitting data obtained from transactions or other sources. Reason C is not correct. This choice describes aggregated, non-identifiable marketing data rather than individual consumer financial information. Reason D is not correct. This choice incorrectly refers to publicly disclosed data, whereas non-public personal financial information must not be publicly available. Question 13. Under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, when must a financial institution provide a privacy notice to a customer? A. Only upon a customer's written request and whenever the notice material changes. B. At the establishment of the customer relationship and annually thereafter. C. Semi-annually to all customers, regardless of any changes. D. Only when public regulations require disclosure of new financial products. The correct answer is B. The Act requires delivery of an initial privacy notice at the start of the customer relationship and updated notices at least once every year thereafter. Reason A is not correct. This choice omits the required annual notice and limits delivery to customer requests and material changes only. Reason C is not correct. This choice incorrectly specifies semi-annual delivery rather than the statutory annual requirement. Reason D is not correct. This choice incorrectly ties notice delivery to product disclosures rather than regular timing requirements. Question 14. Which of the following best describes the primary funding and financial backing mechanism for the National Flood Insurance Program? A. Funded by annual federal appropriations supplemented by state contributions. B. Funded by private reinsurance treaties with optional federal capital support. C. Funded by assessments levied on private property insurance companies. D. Funded through policyholder premiums and backed by U.S. Treasury Borrowing Authority. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is funding through policyholder premiums with Treasury Borrowing Authority, which is how the NSFIP sustains operations and covers catastrophic losses. Reason A is not correct. NFIP does not depend on annual federal appropriations or state contributions for its primary funding. Reason B is not correct. NFIP does not rely on private reinsurance treaties as its main funding source. Reason C is not correct. NFIP funding is not derived from assessments on private insurers. Question 15. An insurance adjuster is advising a client on obtaining flood insurance under the National Flood Insurance Program for a manufactured home. The manufactured home has its wheels and hitch removed, is secured to a permanent foundation, and is connected to municipal water and sewer lines. Based on NFIP eligibility criteria for residential buildings, which statement is correct? A. The home is eligible only if it serves as the owner's primary residence. B. The home is ineligible because manufactured homes are excluded from flood insurance. C. The home is eligible because it meets the NFIP definition of a building. D. The home is eligible only if it was manufactured after a specific date set by FEMA. The correct answer is C. The home meets the NFIP building definition by having rigid walls, a fixed roof, a permanent foundation, and connected utilities. Manufactured homes are eligible when properly installed. Reason A is not correct. There is no primary residence requirement. Eligibility depends on building characteristics, not occupancy status. Reason B is not correct. Manufactured homes are eligible under NFIP when they meet the building definition and foundation requirements. Reason D is not correct. There is no post-manufacture date criterion. Eligibility is based on installation and building specifications. Question 16. Which of the following statements regarding pure risk and property insurance is not accurate? A. They involve only the possibility of loss or no loss. B. They may present an opportunity for financial gain. C. They are often insurable due to measurable exposure and fortuitous loss. D. Their outcomes are beyond the insured's control and cannot result in profit. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is the statement asserting that pure risks may present an opportunity for financial gain, which is inaccurate because pure risks involve only loss or no loss and cannot yield profit. Reason A is not correct. Pure risks do involve only the possibility of loss or no loss, making it a true characteristic and not the incorrect option. Reason C is not correct. Pure risks are insurable due to their fortuitous nature and measurable exposure, so this is an accurate statement. Reason D is not correct. Outcomes of pure risks are indeed beyond control and cannot result in profit, making this statement accurate about pure risks. Question 17. Which characteristic is exclusive to speculative risk, distinguishing it from a pure risk? A. Pooling of exposures among multiple insureds to spread risk. B. Exposure exclusively to accidental loss without any chance for gain. C. Possibility of financial gain in addition to potential loss. D. Predictability in the frequency and magnitude of potential losses. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is the possibility of financial gain in addition to potential loss, which is the defining attribute of speculative risks and is not present in pure risks. Reason A is not correct. Pooling exposures is a risk transfer mechanism, not a characteristic exclusive to speculative risk. Reason B is not correct. That describes pure risk rather than speculative risk, so it does not distinguish speculative risk. Reason D is not correct. Predictability of losses is not a defining feature of speculative risk and may apply to various risk types. Question 18. Which of the following risk management techniques involves consciously accepting potential losses and self-financing them? A. Reduction, implementing measures to lessen frequency or severity of losses. B. Avoidance, whereby activities are ceased to eliminate exposure. C. Transfer, shifting risk to another party through contractual agreements. D. Retention, whereby an entity elects to absorb potential losses internally. The correct answer is D. The correct answer describes risk retention, which is the deliberate acceptance of loss exposure and budgeting to cover losses internally rather than transferring or avoiding the risk. Reason A is not correct. That describes risk reduction, which aims to lessen loss severity or frequency, not to accept losses. Reason B is not correct. That describes risk avoidance, which eliminates the activity rather than accepting the loss. Reason C is not correct. That describes risk transfer, which shifts the exposure rather than self-financing it. Question 19. A local bakery purchases a commercial property insurance policy, paying annual premiums so the insurer assumes potential losses from equipment destruction due to fire. In risk management terms, which method best describes this action? A. Risk transfer by shifting potential fire losses to an insurer. B. Risk retention through self-funding any fire-related damage. C. Risk sharing by distributing fire losses among multiple parties. D. Risk avoidance by eliminating exposure to fire losses. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is risk transfer because the bakery pays premiums to shift possible financial losses to the insurer. Whereas avoidance means eliminating the hazard, retention involves bearing losses internally, and sharing divides losses among stakeholders. Reason B is not correct. This is incorrect because risk retention involves the bakery self-insuring and paying losses out of its own funds rather than transferring them. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because risk sharing would involve multiple parties jointly bearing the loss, not shifting it to a single insurer. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because risk avoidance would require removing the exposure entirely, which the bakery has not done. Question 20. Which of the following pairs are both essential elements of a valid insurance contract under Arizona law? A. Insurable interest and legal purpose. B. Indemnity clause in competent parties. C. Aleatory risk transfer and unilateral contract. D. Representation and consideration. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is insurable interest and legal purpose, because those are among the 5 essential elements required for a valid insurance contract under Arizona law. Reason B is not correct. An indemnity clause is a policy provision rather than an essential contract element. Reason C is not correct. Aleatory risk transfer and unilateral contract describe characteristics of insurance, not fundamental contract elements. Reason D is not correct. Representation and consideration combine one non-element with the element of consideration, rather than 2 essential elements. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.